Okay, so there we are. Gonna be having one extra game today to the two that we have had already before. And it's gonna be right now straight RE and Deities of Death. Deities of Death are gonna be getting the one there as they've won the first game. As right now it's gonna be Anatolia. It should be their home map with Isis, Joe, Fox, and Shelty is gonna be playing Loki. And against them it's going to be straight RE, MrTusksRevenge with Luyindula and SunTzu. So you're gonna be watching what's that going to be meaning. So Gaia, Thor, and Isis. Sorry, interesting gods all across in there. Interesting gods indeed. Yeah, so you're gonna be of course watching what's going to be happening with the extra forest. It's gonna be right now given to the Norse. Definitely correct decision. As how we should be playing Gaia on the team games and on the water, as he's gonna be heading a bit more forward with the first dock, so that he is now gonna be able to be allowing the pocket player to be heading into the middle of the map a bit easier. Apparently though, he seems to be heading a bit more into the middle. He himself doesn't seem to be interested in the fast way to the bottom, so they are gonna be aiming to completely block the path into more fishes for Shelty and Fox on the right flank, as it's gonna be resulting into one Egyptian there, together with the Norse player. Apparently plenty of piggies to start with, and all the way to the top, that's going to be right now Joe starting himself alone, and he's gonna be playing against MrTusksRevenge in there with playing the Gaia. So kind of curious how it's going to be coming for them. Obviously the Egyptian is going to be having advantage, as he always has on Anatolia, as that's their home map by about 2 universes and 3 on top of that. So you're going to be checking him out in expecting more docks all the way into the middle, of course, as that's exactly how it's being played usually. Though maybe there's going to be something funny going on, because they do have double Isises, so they could be potentially trying to go for some really brutal assault with ancestors and whatever like that. So like 1 TC fastly heroics obviously, and not maybe even fighting for the water all that much in the classical age. Gonna be really curious to see what they decide to do. And of course with the support from the Loki, something like it could be legitimately working and might be just a bit too much for SOEE for SOEE to handle. Thing is that maybe they're gonna be having a plan themselves, and of course with the Gaia in there already, doesn't seem all that entirely impossible. With the Isis in the pocket, quite a nice position, and therefore we might be even in the end heading for quite an interesting late game. But the Thor here, SunTzu, and it's gonna be heading for the Ragnarok, quite obviously. Gonna be curious if maybe some kind of faster one, or maybe, yeah, if it's gonna be like a faster one or not. Gonna be really curious at that. Now through bottom, obviously plenty of fish for him available. Gonna be having another 3 some there, and another one all the way to the bottom side here. As at the start of the game, we're gonna be just having a time to look around potentially on the left, where MrTusk's front TC is slightly interestingly positioned. So far it seems to be his. We don't have Oranos, so they need to be scouting the TCs for us first. As those 2 gold mines in the middle, they are not really in a bad position towards this town center. And if there's gonna be a TC for Luyindula somewhere about here, then they could be having quite a good shot at controlling the middle of the map. Because right about now you can see that actually the front TC for Fox is a bit more to the right. Not gonna be giving him all that much of map control and his whole team, as it's quite close by to Shelty's. So still, the gold is there, not really too far away for him. But like the middle of the map here is gonna be really hard for them to control, as there's gonna be 1 extra TC for Joe somewhere in the darkness in there, but that's going to be about it. So hopefully Spearman, Wolfsax, Skreli, Murmilo, Hack Attack. That's going to be helpful potentially against horses, which we don't expect all that many, to be honest, here all that much. As we've so far seen plenty of fishing boats, nothing out of the ordinary yet. As the dock, of course, as we have seen from SunTzu, the second one is gonna be in the middle, and he is already gonna be trying to deny all those fishing spots to his opponent. So yeah, he's gonna be the last one apparently coming for Shelty. He's gonna be having to look somewhere around, and apparently quite... No, it's not gonna be a lot much of a luck, I'm expecting. Second dock already finished right now by Fox here. And I think that could be even like 3 some still here in the darkness. It's definitely not impossible. There's a solid chance of that. As all the way to the bottom, there's a relic for the relic monkeys. Not gonna be making all that much of a difference, but potentially could be helpful if they will be wanting to attack the docks early in the classical age. So Hipaspis, Axemen and whatnot, basically anti-infantry damage. And it's gonna be available in there for them. As all the way to the bottom, we're gonna be looking at the Thor, for example, so far having 5 on gold. He's gonna be finishing with the temple already, with Dwarven Armory also following close behind. And I'm kinda curious if he's gonna be trying to head into something that we have seen last week by Sparks, where I think it was Thor. That he was playing Thor, and he went for very quick armory upgrades on the water, and it completely and utterly owned the opposition. It was a really good idea. He was having bronze shields and and copper weapons in basically about like 9 minutes of the game time, which was really brutal. But here on the water, there is really coming for the Egyptians quite a bit, and not only them, just basically for the defenders at this stage. It's really gonna be hard to win it completely, so maybe it doesn't have to be such a good idea here as it is on Mediterranean. All the way into the middle is gonna be right now MrTusk already having 3 dogs, and both of them here in the middle placed quite close to the opponent. He's also having at least a few already available to him. Apparently another dog was attempted here that has been in the end stopped and not going to be finished all that much and anymore. So all the way to the top side, there's another relic right next to yellow who's gonna be dropping a longhouse, apparently going for a bit of aggression himself, with myth unit special recharge time being shorter, which is definitely nice. Definitely nice for a Loki, considering he's gonna be having plenty of those guys. So it almost seems to me that maybe right now Shelty is gonna be heading straight for land build order. Or the land build order, like land aggression rather. As on the water he's still gonna be wanting to continue, but apparently just a few boats, nothing all that major. Nothing all that major for him, as one longboat is gonna be coming for SunTzu and Luyindula, apparently fighting full hardcore on the classical age, as Fox so far is gonna be pretty much doing the same and hoping that it's going to be enough for him. All the way to the top, there's just gonna be apparently a bit of a distraction of goats, as it doesn't seem like the priest would be liking them all that much, so goat has been sacrificed. Right now it's gonna be time for the oracle to be pretty much having the same fate. As all the way to the top, this is gonna be right now Joe trying to stop, or getting his dog stopped quite efficiently right now by MrTusk because of his fast advance. Thing is that this might not result into really that much of a victory, because the Egyptians are really those that are known for being able to come back really well on water, especially this one. But nonetheless, we're gonna be right now looking at the assault already coming from Shelty. So far nothing being researched, but it seems that Joe is quite interested in going a bit faster into the next age, maybe? Yeah. It's gonna be right proper fast heroic, about 720, with Neftis on the way in there, and Boso for SunTzu. So SunTzu going for a bit of extra economy himself, but thing is that he might be finding himself under attack really quickly, because this is almost heading into basically pressure by Shelty and supported by ancestors just really quickly, as basically as they are right now fighting on the water still, and this is gonna be quite a bit of a fight. Shelty producing at least a few, well, from only one dock, the longer boats as much as possible and as long as possible, and it's gonna be right now probably nothing all that great. It's gonna be really depending on Fox quite fully. As you can see that SunTzu is not really putting all that many boats there either, even though he's having auto queue on how many docks? On actually both of them. The both that are closest, actually 3 docks. On 3 docks he's having auto queue, but nonetheless right about now Yolo is already in the enemy base, and of course we're just gonna be impatiently waiting where the ancestors are going to be cast. If he's gonna be heading somewhere into the pocket, maybe he could. Right now the prosperity is underway, so potentially could have timed it differently. And maybe could have even disrupted that completely and utterly. But there we go, the ancestors in the end are gonna be coming to the left side, as the Murmilos are already gonna be heroes, so therefore those ancestors gonna be a bit of a nuisance, but probably nothing all that great and all that major. So far also on the top side, MrTusk is still gonna ravage in the countryside there, but problem is that right now he's gonna be having to face the war barges, and that's where the fun kinda ends, especially with the little Leviathan there, also helping out in that department. So Joe was just going to be playing 1v1 against MrTusk. They didn't go for basically just straight aggression, which I think is a bit of a shame. If they cast ancestors here, that could have been just basically goodbye SunTzu. I don't think he was ready for that at all, and all those heresiers were in good enough numbers for Shelty. He's gonna be apparently right now getting rid of the towers here and there. A few throwing axemen also on the bay. Finally in here, as all the way here to the top side, it really seems that yellow is gonna be just pushing forward with everything that he has, and even the wolfies are not gonna be attempting to stop him. On the water, there's gonna be at least a bit of an attempt to keep it alive by Fox, so that he can be continuing with the water economy the same as his teammate Shelty. So that's a good idea. So right now there's a bit of a passive approach by SunTzu and Luyindula, not wanting to really push it forward all that much. As all the way to the top, of course, Joe went quite hardcore into the water with all those siege boats, and that's gonna be pretty much impossible for MrTusk to do anything about, especially since he's not advancing into heroic age yet, and he's not really that close. So if this is gonna be played properly by Joe, he should be living in the water battle quite easily. All the way here, he's gonna wait now second TC by Luyindula. Is he gonna be stopped? It depends if he's gonna be noticed. There are gonna be a few heresiers coming forward. It seems like he's gonna be way too late. No, is he? Is he? Is he? Yes. Just too late. Just. And that's definitely quite a bit of a luck for Luyindula, and important one. As right about now, the attack is gonna be pretty much broken off in SunTzu's base, as he's having the towers helping even the throwing axemen already in place. So right now, the Thor is gonna be able to survive, whereas the Loki will have to be finding someone else to abuse. And maybe that someone else could be even Mr. Tusk on the left side, who is trying to move right now forward with a few units already on the way in there, and all the way to the top side. This is gonna be resulting into Mr. Tusk, who is still trying to at least get rid of the economy, which is quite cleverly played, because he knows he cannot really fight against the opponent at all. So he's kind of hoping to keep his opponent running around for the longest time, keeping at least a bit of the economy going, and therefore keeping him viable on the water as long as possible there. So all the way into the middle, this is going to be a forward build-up by Shelty. Definitely quite an interesting idea, and one that is quite viable, because right about now, as he's advancing through Bragi, and Fox is also advancing through Neftis with Scadir by SunTzu in there, this is kind of like the correct timing, because it's going to be allowing him... No, you can see the front TC quite nicely, sneakily taken by Luyindula. Not entirely sneakily, I don't think he knows about this at all. So he just went straight for the TC and got lucky that he missed all this huge army, and the 3 TCs for him might be something, but at the same time, with already having the enemy in your midst and waiting for the ancestors to be cast in there as well, doesn't have to be anything all that huge, but quite obviously the frost is something that could be a bit scary, but obviously when you are having on top of that the eclipse, that's gonna be complete blockage, and therefore the attack could be really right proper and then damn dangerous. All the way to the top side, the army is getting ever stronger for Mr. Tusk, who's gonna be able to block this TC from his opponent, if he's gonna be basically able to hold on in there long enough, as the Leviathan is gonna be eating the remaining boats from the enemy, as the Migdol was of course built quite defensively. It doesn't have all that much of a population right about now, Joe, as he is not missing houses, but he's only at 1 TC, and he's trying to push forward, was trying to go for a TC, kinda brazenly, didn't expect Mr. Tusk there at all, and therefore right now he's gonna be paying for that quite a bit, it seems to me, as the Granary is even moving forward, and it's gonna be still continued, but I don't think he's gonna be able to actually capture that hunting spot. It seems to me that Joe is gonna be forced to go back, especially if Mr. Tusk is gonna be sending enough reinforcements in, but so far it's not exactly the case, and in the end the Elephant, together with the Scorpion Man and a few more extra units, is going to be enough to put it back. So slightly unfortunate, good idea by Mr. Tusk, but he just didn't have all that extra power for all of it. So that's gonna be of course resulting into right about now a bit of a fun in the middle, as ancestors are coming forward from Fox to basically stop, I'm thinking, the ancestors from the opponent that potentially could be coming as well. And he's gonna be getting into Heroic Age, which is not exactly now, but yeah, well, this front TC that's probably gonna be gone quite easily, as right now the yellow arm is way too strong and the teal one not bad. You can see that heavy throwing axemen already, and bronze and double copper already. Well, that's quite nice at this point at 12 minutes, and his opponent, that's gonna be Shelty. He's not gonna be having all that many upgrades I'm expecting. Yep, absolutely nothing. Fox is gonna be able to right now drop the Migdol into the middle of the enemy base, and therefore this TC seems to be also under scrutiny, let's say, and it's gonna be probably reduced to rubble fairly quickly. So there's gonna be of course a front TC for Fox I'm expecting, as he has already finished with the one here on the right side, and all the way onto the water, as he's having apparently heavy cabinets, he's gonna be able to deal with the enemy shenanigans there, because, yeah, well, they kinda stopped attacking there, because they realized they need to be concentrating a bit more on the land at this point. All the way to the top, there's gonna be right now blue coming forward yet again quite aggressively, so Deities of Death apparently wanted to close this match as soon as possible, with Luyindula already right about now picking up the score at the bottom, but yeah, well, that's because he just couldn't get going yet, and maybe there's still gonna be a chance for him. But right now, he's gonna be getting the barracks, and it's looking kinda unlikely, as the Heroic Age is still far away from him. You can see, like, really far away, unless he just clicked. Yeah, it's really far away, so he's not in any kind of good shape. He has lost right about now water, as Fox is completely occupying it. He's gonna be getting the front DC, and apparently Mythic for Shelty is also gonna be right beyond the door. Yep, 1,000, so he's gonna be clicking in really quickly, as Joe is trying to right now get the TC. Pharaoh is gonna be dying, so without the empowerment, it's not gonna be all that simple. Though the Palace versus the Migdol and a few units all around, it's gonna be quite an interesting battle still between those players. And the upgrade is probably gonna be missing on both sides. I'm expecting medium Archive with at least copper shield, that's nice. And for the opponent, yeah, of course nothing, as is usual for the Egyptians. And the camel in there getting eaten alive completely and utterly. So the water, that's gonna be just a cleanup. Apparently Fox could be already losing a few boats, it seems. so that he could be having a bit more army in the middle as he is taking the front TC. And apparently Shelty also is gonna be heading a bit more to the left, not all that interested in Luyindula and rather more in MrTusksRevenge, so that he is not gonna be putting up all that much opposition to Joe, who is apparently slightly struggling. Gonna keeping the battle alive in here. It seems like the threat is gonna be having a bit easier time, even though on the water there is a complete and utter domination and supremacy for blue. Potentially could be getting a bit more population limit out of all those war barges in there. But yeah, well, MrTusk is gonna be reduced to only 1 TC, and much more importantly, he's also gonna be losing tons of economy in there, and that is much more problematic than anything else, as he's fighting in the middle still, trying to somehow get rid of the Migdol. Problem is, he doesn't have the destroyers or anything like that could be doing that real quickly, and so he's trying to push even though he's having units popping up behind him into the battle, which is not exactly all that great for him. But nonetheless, he's gonna be still probably kept alive by Joe for a bit before right now Shelty is gonna be able to help him fully. You can see he's basically going to be aiming for the TCs with flaming weapons and field winter combination for him, and it's gonna be leveling of the bases for MrTusk, as all the way into the middle though, there's gonna be a solid chance as well for SunTzu. You can see, of course, there is the one that is having frost. He doesn't have flame weapons himself, so therefore this battle could be fairly interesting. But it seems to me that Fox, especially with the help of the mercenaries, and you can see he's having already heavy chariots, even though nothing else, and the shooting Migdol in there is probably gonna be having a bit of an edge. And with the monument, very well done. Monument by ISIS placed tactically in the middle of the map. Nice. Something that you really don't see that often, but you are going to be seen a bit more often lately than it was like a year and plus ago. So it's definitely nice to be seen that the players have kinda rediscovered what ISIS is about in team games. They, well, in the meantime, bit of a insta-healing of each other, and of course the base of MrTusk completely and utterly destroyed, as there's gonna be some funny carnivora eating a few villages with a bit of a help of the Stimfalian bird, and the archers there are definitely not bad. Problem is that yet again MrTusk cannot just basically do anything all that much with the buildings. He has been at least able to finally kill the Migdol with a bit of a help, but otherwise front TC taken by Shelty. That's gonna be a second one for him, and also the back one in here for a complete safety as a third TC. And Fox with the 4 in the middle, trying to go with the Migdol, trying to block the gold and completely even the path into their own bases, as he is controlling the middle of the map real competently. Otherwise, Propel is trying to help his teammate, as he's trying to get rid of Shelty inside MrTusk's base, and he's also helping, no, not helping, sending just the villagers to gather more gold, and also gather in the middle as well. Trying to stay with it as long as possible, as the little army from MrTusk is right now moving forward. And Shelty, though, getting more and more population limit for himself for all the battles. So still plenty of units. Right now Fox finally realizing that he could be getting a lot more population limit out of it. So that's gonna be, of course, helpful for all of that. Apparently a few more markets, or rather trade caravans waiting to potentially go into the enemy bases, or rather enemy bases, allied bases yet again. But we mustn't forget right now that Joe is still under pressure by MrTusk, even though he's at, well, right about now back at 1 TC. He has actually taken the front one, protected by the carnivora in there, but still, he's having a right proper 1v1 with Joe. 1 versus 2 TCs at least for the time being. And yeah, well, yellow is gonna be looking where he could be potentially assisting, as he's sending at least a few units forward, helping Fox, as he seems to be in well and full control of his opponent's bases in there. And apparently Shelty is gonna be doubling back at least a bit with a few units and trying to maybe somehow control this base yet again, even the economy apparently in there. And there's a funny trade apparently going on from about, like, where is the market? About like here. And they come in through the middle of the map to this TC. Kinda interesting, but nonetheless, right now MrTusk is gonna be having to go back. Not even so far rebuilding the economy inside his bases, as he probably doesn't even have the villages there for that anymore. And SunTzu right now is gonna be resigning, as this is really looking quite well in control of deities of death, and gonna be taking the second game as well and winning the match 2-0. Quite an important one for them in division number 1. And that's gonna be putting them pretty much into quite a comfortable spot for the playoffs. This was just a well played by deities of death. It was quite nice cooperation. Interesting fight between Joe and MrTusk, to be honest. If it wasn't for Shelty, that could have been quite a good battle between those two. But in the middle, especially the early raiding by Shelty was really deadly. Really deadly. And put the players into quite a tough situation to decide. Shall we continue water? Shall we defend against that? And then the push with Fox were the ancestors for the front TC. That was where the game completely and utterly broke for SOEE and went for deities of death ever since. So nicely done. Let's check into the post game, and it's going to be right now Fox with the score and with the victory on most of it, with Shelty quite close by. And yeah, well, I'm thinking that Shelty was probably a bit more influential with what he did in the game altogether. So nicely done. Nicely done, but Fox's economy, yes, so much better than everybody else. Alright, proper boom in there. Nicely done indeed. But MrTusksRevenge, that was quite nice battle. With Joe in there, you can see he was having quite nice ratio as opposed to Joe. And on the water, he did what he could have. That was also quite nice. Joe maybe a bit overdid. All those siege boats, he probably don't have to be having so many of them. But 716 fast 3 heroic, nice one. And it also did its damage. And did its service. So heavy cabinets for Fox in the end as the most common unit. As the civilians here could have seen Luyindula losing so many villages when he was attacked on the front TC in there. And he just wasn't able to get back from that. He just wasn't able to get back from that. Even wasn't able to reach the heroic age because of that kind of decision and how it went badly for him really quickly. You can see he was having some kind of army that was probably on water mostly. And he lost most of it. And even though at the end he was able to get at least some kind of army going. Not exactly there, but here a bit more onto the right. And everybody was in the next ages already. It just wasn't going to be that influential. Okay, that's quite a nice curve for Shelty. Coming quite quickly outside, up there. So, GG. GG, let's go out here then. Let's put on the screen, and that was the second game, so therefore that should be pretty much it. Yep, let's also make it a bit nicer, with score for deities of death being at 2-0, and that was the last match as far as I know that was scheduled for today. So I don't think there should be anything more going on unless there is something unexpected. So we have seen 1.5 matches. The first one was taking a bit of time, but it was well worth it. The games were quite fun. So I'm kind of happy that we got those going. And the last game for SOE, Deities of Death. And there were a few other matches going on as well. They were streamed all across. We're going to be letting you know where they were and where you can watch them later on, like Twitter's, Facebook's, and our Discord. So feel free to join if you are interested. And we're of course gonna be trying to put as many games to YouTube as possible in the coming time and coming days. So yeah, originally we were planning to be streaming a bit more, but since the first match took a long time, we weren't able to switch properly into more games. But still, 3 is good enough, I'm thinking, as there was also most of the games were scheduled for basically in the span of 2 hours. 2 matches at 17 GMT, 2 matches at 18 GMT, and this one at 19. So, fortunately, cannot really do much about that. And as I said, we're gonna be letting you know. You can watch them later on our community channels, which you can find below the stream. And you can be, of course, finding them through also potentially commands in the chat. So, I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, it would be great for a follow or any kind of other support, like for example, even just watching here and having fun with us, hopefully. As we are in the half of the group stage, you're gonna be having still about like almost 2 months, month and a half of top quality clan wars following here at RTS League. So feel free to follow for more. And well, if you want to be helping us host more competitions for the community, feel free to do so. Also below the stream, we are having some more information for that. There's also a possibility, and otherwise, well, for scenarios and mods, HO Mythology Heaven, as I always repeat, those community sites, so HO Mythology Heaven for the creative folk and RTS-Sanctuary.com for the home of HO Mythology since 2003 for absolutely everything you can think of, from recorded game strategy guides to just basically conversation with the community. That's RTS-Sanctuary.com. Then, of course, these games that we played on Woobly, the best place for Age of Empires and Age of Mythology multiplayer, and also using Woobly Balance Patch 3.0. But if you want to be playing the original game, no problem with that. Everything is welcome here. Be it vanilla, so the original Age of Mythology, straight Titans by Ensemble Studios, or the balance patch from the community. All is possible, and all kinds of custom scenarios is also available here at Woobly to play.